Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the RSS, the Rashid Saleh Show with myself, Rashid Saleh, and of course Jason Sim, aka the Kuchingite. As usual, I don't know what he's going to be asking me, and we'll just go from there. So let's get right into it because I'm not sure
I have no idea
happen.
what we're going to talk about.
Story of my life.
Let's start with like the shirt. Like you're obviously wearing a Cobra rugby shirt. Like, what were you up to today?
Well, today, which would be like a while ago, when this comes out, I am part of the Cobra Rugby Club. I have been with the club since 1990, which means that I've been around with the club for over 3 decades. I am now a life member. I've played for them for the longest time, and over this weekend, which happened, we had the KRFC, which is Kuchingite Football Club Rainforest Sevens, 7-a-side tournament, which happened over 2 days, which most 7-a-side or 10-a-side tournament will have. And I was just there at Songkang High rugby field to enjoy the atmosphere and of course a bit of rugby.
This was a state-sponsored event?
It was sponsored by YB Data Karim, I think, which is what I was informed. But yes, yeah.
So you're involved in some commentary, I heard?
Well, I was doing a little bit of commentary just to like help out and have a bit of fun, because I was actually there just to enjoy the atmosphere, and they just happened to be doing the live stream of the whole tournament over the last 2 days. So I decided to give a bit of pointers and end up doing the commentary, which I enjoy anyway. And it was fun.
So speaking of events, you'll be judging an event soon, like on the next weekend, was it?
Well, on the between the 18th and 21st of July will be the mini film fest, which will be at La Promenade Mall. This is the 20th edition, which means that it's probably one of the longest running mini film festival in Malaysia. I'm not sure around the world. It's run by a gentleman called Yao Chong Lee, who has been probably the man behind the whole thing, and he's a lecturer at UNIMAS, and it's very much UNIMAS led and supported by FINAS. And what it does is they do a lot of they have a festival and awards for short films that are produced mostly by locals, Sarawakians, and also from abroad as well. And then they will invite certain members of the industry to do the judging and all that, which is done separately. And there'll be an award show, and there'll be seminars and workshops for those who are interested in the industry itself. So this year we've got an amazing set of people who will be doing workshops. A good friend of mine, Malik Hugh, will be doing. He's a director of photography, so he'll be doing stuff on lighting. Another friend, Priska Wong, she'll be doing a workshop with another gentleman. Can't remember his name, on the business of running a production house, which is something which is really relevant because a lot of people don't know how to set things up. There'll be there's the Japanese Foundation, which has been a really good supporter of the arts over the years, not just in West Malaysia, but also here. They are also having a seminar. They've invited this wonderful lady who will be doing a seminar and a workshop here in Kuching. And myself, I'm very, very lucky to have gotten my good friend Dato' Aflin Shauki, who is also the president of Film Directors Association of Malaysia, FDM, and he will be doing a co-working workshop on directing actors,
Oh,
and that's
wow.
going to be fun.
Nice.
Hopefully, no, it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
I understand this is your second stint as a judge. Like you
It's
did
my
last
second
year,
stint
yeah?
as a judge, and it's also my second stint as doing a workshop. I did one last year on improv, improv workshop, and this year is a bit more specific. Directing actors is going to be something that if you're in the industry, you're doing filming, you've never had to you've never dealt with actors before. It's something I think will be very beneficial to everyone. I understand that quite a number of people have taking interest in, not just me. I think because the fact that Dato' Afrin Shawki is going to be here, and it's very hard and rare to be able to get him to do a seminar because he's so busy.
So as a judge, what are you looking to see?
They actually give us a criteria. There's actually 4 or 5 criteria that's set by UNIMAS itself, or is the UNIMAS Film Society, whatever they're called.
Oh.
And so we look at those categories and we work it. We give the marks according to that. Because if you leave to the jury and judges to do that, it becomes too subjective. So you need to have some
Parameters.
exactly, parameters to be able for us to judge. If not, it's not a farce. It's just it'll just be too long.
So what was your experience like on last year?
Well, there was some really good short films that came out of there. There were some experimental ones, which I found different. There was one which was sort of science fiction-y fantasy, which I thought was really good. The idea was there, but I think the execution, due to the lack of experience, didn't really pull through. There were other short films which were beyond my expectations. But it's really hard to do it because everyone will have a different take on it. Last year we had a producer, we had some lecturer who was part of the university. So, and then there was myself who came from a different industry. I mean, the industry, but more of TV and stuff. So,
can you explain what some of the parameters are? Is it mostly technical, or is it are you judging most of the content, or?
It's half and half. You will look at the creativity, you look at the storyline, the narrative. You also look at the technical aspect of the film, because in anything you do, you must have looked at because the colors that you use, the kind of lighting you use, also helps how you conceive the story, how you do the storyline, because that's what visual art storytelling is all about, and that's what filming is all about.
Well,
because it's not just word, it's not just reading a book, but it's translating whatever that's from the script into a visual art form. So whatever you see on the screen, it's very important in how you translate whatever story that you want to portray. So yes, to answer your question, yes, there'll be parts where the technical aspect is very important, and also, but we look at everything. I mean, I even look at rolling credits, whether it is just a standard one or does it follow the same theme the whole film or short film is all about. And people tend to forget that, and it's really important that you have that, the whole theme throughout. I mean, was it Marvel who came up with the stay at the end of the
post credits
for the post credit shots, because they were the first that did it, for the longest time. So that's something. It's also part of the whole thing that we do when we're judging it.
I mean, do you have any opinions on what the standard of filmmaking is in Sarawak?
No, again, it's so subjective. We talk about Sarawak itself. We just don't have enough experience. Let's not talk about films now. I mean, films itself, they will always bring someone from abroad to be able to do it. But my bone of contention with all those kind of things is that they don't do enough research on our region, on Sarawak itself, because a lot of stuff that comes out when it comes to film is that they don't understand our nuances.
Are you talking about like foreign filmmakers that come here?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I know I didn't want to talk about it, but
Yeah.
what the heck, you know? And a lot of it is because, you know, you have people like James Wan, who is Sarawakian, and you know, yes, he's gone to Australia and all that, but when he first started off, of course he wanted to do stuff that, I don't necessarily be Sarawak centric, but you know, he's grown with it and been able to understand how Hollywood does stuff. It's the same thing when you come over here. Understand how especially we're going to be doing stories about our culture now. You have to do a lot of research into it because you don't want to look stupid, right? So yeah.
So when you said you referenced that sci-fi short, the sci-fi film, was it lacking mostly in the technical aspect?
Yes, a lot of it was, you know, the story was there. I think what they needed to do was either flesh it out a bit, talk to someone with experience, but the actual technical stuff, the lighting and all that, again, left a little bit more to be desired because it is, I always say this, it's not anyone's fault. Until you get the right training, you get the right experience, or you ask people who know about it, you try, experiment stuff and you do it. Most of the time it doesn't work because you don't have a standard or to follow. So you think this is good because that's how you see it. And you know, you see it on, whether it's on YouTube or anything, you say, oh, that's how I'm supposed to do it. But a lot of times when we do that is we're just following what the other person's saying without taking into account our own story, and it might not fit to our story.
Do you feel the same way like when you're working in KL and West Malaysia? I mean, do you have a standard to measure it to?
In what
Well,
are we
in terms
talking
of
about?
just the quality of filmmaking in general.
We've got some good filmmakers out there. Actually, when it comes to the stories and all that, we've got some great filmmakers. But I do feel on you know, if you look at it from a really larger point of view, we're behind in terms of our technical abilities. We see Thailand, we see Indonesia, who are quite way ahead of us in terms of, you know, how they shoot and how they do stuff.
Is there a matter of training?
No. I mean, I'm generalizing because we do have some really gifted technical people who've worked on Hollywood films, worked on you know, when they do have foreign films coming here, we've got some amazing guys. But in general, I'm just saying it in general, yeah, we're still lacking. I think it's because in the past we've not really had much support from the government, because the government didn't understand that this was an industry that can grow, and because we are chasing the education system, we're chasing, you know, other stuff, that entertainment goes to the back burner.
Obviously, you've been on a sitcom that has wide appeal across like segments of population, right? Like, do you feel that our industry here is it's hard to get that kind of cross appeal just because of differences in like languages, in like race, the kind of content that people appeal? I mean, it's an English language film, and it was shown on terrestrial TV, right? So it had that cross appeal. But so someone who's worked on like an English sitcom, maybe a Malay movie,
sitcoms, and Malay sitcoms as well.
So do you think it's hard to get that kind of like, you know, uniformity in like appeal in Malaysia? I mean, do you have thoughts on that?
Malaysia is very unique. We, you know, our strength is also our weakness. You know, we are multilingual, we're multicultural, even more so here in Sarawak. We're blessed with that, and we're also cursed with it. Because we can't seem to agree upon, yes, English language, yes, in Sarawak. We have it, but when it comes to multilingual shows, it becomes a sort of more than a niche, and it becomes really hard for people to agree the fact that, we need to do this. Because only a certain amount of people from society will go, oh, we should do this. But the rest go, oh no, it's not relevant, or it's not popular. Where do we stand on this? Even in West Malaysia, it's like, do we do more Malay language stuff? Do we do more English-based stuff? Do we do more Hindi? Or do we do more Tamil? Or do we do more Cantonese? Or do Mandarin? Do Hokkien? Everyone has their views. We've got to figure out, first and foremost, when we want to export our stories, where do we want to go? Do we do one, and do we just do Bahasa Malaysia? But we've seen that when we just do Bahasa Malaysia, and then there are scenes where there's Chinese, Indian, and that. Do we just go Bahasa, or do we break it down and go? Because culturally it's different. How people pronounce, we used to have a laugh of like, why are the Cantonese so loud, blah, blah, blah. But that's just the way they speak. Yeah. Why are the Arabs so loud? They're being passionate. No, they're not. For them, it's endearment. To the untrained ear, or the people, they're shouting. But they're not. It's just their language. So go back to Malaysia. It's like, where do we need to decide. Especially if you're going to be exporting films like that. You've got to decide, okay, are we going to do this, and the other? But me personally, we should strive in our diversity. Bring out different types of films and languages, because that showcases what Malaysia is all about. We don't need to conform to other people. Say, oh, it has to be Indonesian, because Indonesia likes to have Indonesian. But our strength also is the fact that we are diverse, that we can come up with so many different types of films in so many different languages, but also still be Malaysian in that sense.
Like you reference Thai films and Indonesian films. Like we've seen Indonesia had success in like some of their Netflix movies, and then obviously Thais, like recently they had a lot of hit shows and stuff like that. And like, what do you feel the gap is there in terms of like, why aren't Malaysian films doing as well as those shows? Well,
like I said, the other bane is also our strength in our diversity. The fact that we can come up with so many different films. What are the Thai films used to be famous for? Horror.
Well,
right? So, Nam Nak and all that.
Yeah.
They did really well. They stuck to one genre, and they did it in the Thai language. And what are Indonesian films really good for? Romantic comedies and romantic. So they stuck to a genre. We need to either stick to a genre, or our genre is diverse. And that's why we have this, it's not a lack of quality films. It's just that we have so many, we can't pinpoint one. And it's not a weakness, but it's also not a strength. Whereas Thailand, they will do horror. Thai horror, everyone loves Thai horror. Indonesian is like, fall in love, romantic. And it works, Ada Apa Dengan Cinta and all that. Yeah. It was always romantic comedies and all that. And it works. So they're stuck to a genre, and that's why they're good. So everyone comes out and does that. We haven't figured ours yet. Or, like I said, our strength is because we're so diverse. Maybe we need to find a specific genre to be able to focus on it. Everyone does that, and then we'll be remembered for it.
I mean, do you see a big gap in like technical ability? Because like I've understood like a lot of people used to hire like when they film Thailand, there's a lot of like crew that you can hire and stuff like that. I mean, do you feel there's a big gap in like our know-how?
I don't think so. In terms of expertise, we're pretty much right up there. It's just numbers. We don't have enough of crew members who are there. What's severely lacking, I think, is just numbers. And we have the experience. We have people who are very, very experienced in doing films, who are very good at doing the second units of even Hollywood films.
No.
Just because they come from a foreign country doesn't mean that they're good.
Yeah.
I've directed stuff abroad, and I've had foreign crews under me, and they're very respectful because it doesn't matter what color skin you are. It's just that if that you can do the job, they can trust you, and they can tell. It's not like you try and fake it till you make it. Other stuff can, but technical stuff, you've got to have that basic understanding of how to shoot film or TV show, whatever. But at the end of the day, I hate the word at the end of the day, but we are on par with in ASEAN. It's just that we need to figure out what we want to do. So we have this constant battle with the government and as to how we want to get stuff. The government's doing well. I mean, I'm not sure about this current government, but they do have a lot of subsidies in bringing in foreign films and all that. We try and attract them. What I loved about Thailand in the past was just probably 20, 30 years ago. What they did is whenever there was a foreign film coming in, they always insisted on having a transfer of knowledge, meaning that we just don't provide normal low-end crew and all that, but you must have someone local to be able to either shadow or be in whether heads of departments and all that, so that there'll be a faster and a quicker transfer of knowledge when it comes to the industry, and it works. And look at them now. I mean, they're in terms of even their post-production, it's amazing.
I mean, there's this argument that how Thai movies are doing quite well nowadays, and then obviously the Koreans are doing really well because it's a concerted effort for the government wants to promote soft power, so obviously they invest in film like that. How much do you think it's really down to government support?
I think it's really important. I mean, just remember, even the Korean films. When you talk about soft power, it's also propaganda. A lot of stuff that comes out, we now see the Koreans where they do all these films, but we get an insight on what Korea is like. Even though yes, entertainment TV sort of gives you a slightly different view on what society is all about, but it gives us enough to understand that this is what Korea is like. When you go there, you will obviously it's not going to be all beautiful technically, but it gives you an insight what the Koreans are like, and a lot of it has to do with how the government allows all this to happen. I mean, you imagine if we had a North Korean film, all be like Kim, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
You will understand that. That's just that propaganda that needs to be done, and Hollywood's really good at that. I mean, if you really understand, how certain films come out at certain times, it's because they want to propagate that kind of message to the public. So here, the certain type of films that come out, it really tells us what our society is going through at the moment, and what the government allows us to have a look, and it's such subtle messaging. So soft power, subtle messaging through film. It's just that some of the Malay films, you have all this wife gets beaten up, blah blah blah. That happens, but
I mean,
is that the kind of message we want to send?
I've mentioned this before, but just back to it again. How much do you think censorship restrains our ability to make cross-appeal films?
It's like I said, we are like what's that film, The Airbender? Last Airbender. We're so good at bending the rules when it comes to censorship. Like I said, with the OTTs out now, it's very hard to and we do have content now, local content that goes out onto Netflix and Prime and all that, and it's very hard it does go through LPF, Lembaga penampilan film and all that. It does go through the
censorship
censorship
board,
board.
yeah.
But I think they've become a lot more understanding in terms of how, I mean, there's a lot of films now that probably wouldn't have passed in the 80s and 90s.
Would that depend on who the government of the day is?
No, it doesn't matter which government. There will still be the same people. Like,
Oh.
you can talk about changes in government, but you must look at the civil service and go, have they changed?
Yeah. It's the same
and that-
people and the same
Well,
positions?
it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't want to go into the politics and stuff, but yes, over time there should be a change in terms of how, especially people in these bodies, the censorship board and all that, needs to be more modernized, more upgraded. But we're not the ones who put them there. So again, you're right. The government needs to have a look at it and go, is this what we want? And what kind of messaging do we want? As I said at the beginning, what kind of messaging do we want to give out to the public? And films are probably the best way of doing it. You see films like Marbat when, we're now doing a lot of films where, the Mogadishu, Black Hawk Down. That started a whole ball rolling about us doing films about war and how we are actually the heroes of what happened in Mogadishu, which is the truth because it's been mentioned in documentaries.
Do you see like our local content or maybe channels like TVS? It's like a good outlet to promote like our kind of soft power, like Sarawakian soft power, like this kind of pushing kind of our values, our way of life. Because I get this understanding that not a lot of them understand us at least.
Who are you talking about? The guys on the other side of the
the other
water?
side. I mean, forget people around the world, but like it just.
Are you saying you don't like West Malaysians?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I say like they don't understand us as much as we hope they would.
Because we live on trees, right? Yeah. There we go. We live on trees. So especially the Sabahan girl who had to go sit on the tree and get her exams and all. That's the image that given. It's like and now the pan I was not ready yet.
Maybe not even like like that extreme. Maybe things like
it's not extreme. It's reality.
Yeah, like the pluralistic way of life. That a more liberal nature of like how we perceive things. Like, do you feel like TVS should like kind of push that kind of nature, or do you think I'm just like talking out my ass?
No, you're not talking out your ass. I mean, I don't know about your ass, but I talked about this before. I even talked about this with my cast when I was doing this Sarawak Malay telemovie.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I remember a little anecdote I'll share with you. We were reading the script of this telemovie. Actually, I'll tell you, Mukun, it was on TVS. And the first time we read it, and the writer wrote it, it was in Bahasa Malaysia. Nothing wrong, but I felt like this is so wrong because we're doing a Sarawakian Malay story. So it should be uttered, spoken in Bahasa Sarawak. So what and it sounded really, they were reading it and the attitude and the way they talked and the way they portrayed the characters on that script read was very West Malaysian. And I went, stop. I said, hang on a minute, guys. And there was this one character which I was concerned about because it was a teacher. My mother was a teacher. So I asked the actors, like, as if you were a teacher in Sarawak and you were Sarawakian, would you behave this way? When you get upset, would you raise your voice, blah, blah? And he's like, no. I said, would you handle it a different way? Because Sarawakians are a lot more quieter in nature, and the way we confront conflict, arguments, is not by shouting over each other. And we know this because jungle's very but we don't shout, and we know this.
Yeah. Some would say timid, but I
it's
get
not
what
timid.
you're saying. Yeah.
I think it's because we're rational.
Or a bit more reserved, yeah.
Yes. Oh. So you have that. I said, would you do that as a Sarawakian teacher? And he stopped and went, no. So I said, so read it differently. Read it like a Sarawakian. So over the time, when they started reading it, the whole story changed. The story is the same, but the whole attitude towards the script changed. It became more Sarawakian. They were more, I said, be bold, speak. If you think this line is not correct, correct it to make it more Sarawakian. The whole thing changed. Now, what's happened is, and what made them realize that through no one's fault, and this was before TVS, that we've been importing a lot of West Malaysian culture into our way of life, meaning that everyone understands how Kelantanis speak, people from the north, and they have this logat, they call it logat Kelantan or that. Yeah. We understand it, but is it not our time, now that we have TVS, for us to export our culture, which is what you said, into the West Malaysians so that they understand what we are like. So TVS should be that vehicle to be able to export that to not just West Malaysia, but to the rest of the world. And to say that, hey, we are diverse in not just our language, in our culture, in our customs, and we have so much content that we can give out to the world, not just to Malaysia, but to the world, and go, Borneo, and represent Borneo, and say, look, we are different. We're the third largest island in the world. Are you saying that we don't have content that we can, new content that people around the world probably starve for? I mean, all they hear is just the political stuff. But we are more than that. We are much, much more than that. And that's why TVS should be used as that vehicle to export, not import, export, because this is our, if I'm bold enough to say it, it's our own propaganda machine. Yeah. And that's how it should be used.
And Sarawak identity is Malaysian identity. Yeah. Like there could be a show like Kopitiam maybe, like with maybe diverse cast and stuff like that.
And something that we actually talked about. I believe that can happen. Yeah. And it would be so wonderful to be able to represent that in a sitcom, because as we know, situational comedy shows probably have more impact on anything else, especially when it's good, like Kopitiam. I'm very proud to be part of the cast of Kopitiam, because when something like that happens, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. This sounds like a rap. When it was still on Netflix until 2019 or 2020, or something like that. It was still on during COVID, I think, early bits of COVID. We had, and somebody slid into my DMs, people from the Midwest in America who said they watched it on Netflix and they loved it. Mm-hmm. They've never been to Malaysia, but they understood and enjoyed it and loved it. And I was scratching my head thinking, wow, people from America who don't even understand our culture, but are enjoying comedy from Southeast Asia. How wonderful is that? Yeah. What kind of, Kopitiam has taught many, many, many people how to understand and speak English with confidence. They've also I've mentioned this before. Our director who directed us for Kopitiam Double Shot, his mother was from Felda. She learned to speak English because of Kopitiam. That's amazing. We've had people who've childhood memories are from the fact that they came to watch it because they found that that was what Malaysia was all about.
Forgive my ignorance, but was there any reference towards Johan being a Melanau character?
No. Actually, Johan Johan Asri was actually Malay.
Also Malay.
Yeah.
So you were actually playing a Malay?
I was playing a Malay character. It's very much a West Malaysian show because it was set in a Kopitiam in KL.
Yeah.
So obviously
you were playing a role.
Yeah, I played the
Do you feel there should be more needs for characters to be I'm on a sitcom, I'm a Melanau character, I'm an Iban character, Malay character.
Well, the narrative was very different than the way it was then in the 90s.
Do you think there's a lack of that?
Yeah, it was. People didn't know about Sabah and Sarawak.
I mean, even now.
Now, because of, and I hate to say it, I mean, not I hate to say it, but now that the government, the federal government have given us more attention. Yes, you may look at the numbers, maybe a lot more West Malaysians, especially domestic tourism, which is great for Sarawak, because a lot of people used to just like bypass and go Sabah.
Yeah.
Because of the diving and the people. A lot more people are now finding out about Sarawak. I mean, rainforest. But a lot more people are enjoying, and even domestic tourism, people within Sarawak are enjoying Sarawak more, because now with the way, not just TVS, but the platforms there and social media, a lot more people know there are different places here in Sarawak.
I know you're mostly behind the camera, behind the scenes nowadays, but if you were to like relive not relive, like maybe like if you do acting,
feel old.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, but if you were to do acting nowadays, would it matter to you that you're represented as like a Muslim now more than like playing a Malay character on TV? Would that representation
that's too subjective. I mean, it depends on the character that I'm given in films. If you're talking about maybe doing talk shows or maybe doing magazine shows, yes, I'd like to be more representation of my own culture, being a Melanau.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether Muslim, Catholic or animist, but Melanau itself. That's more important to me than anything else. I'm very proud to be Melanau in Sarawak, and even more so, even in the past. And it's it's been recorded in other shows as well, that where even Aflin has said that I'm a Melanau, and they know that I've always reiterated. But that's not the point. The point is I've said that I'm Sarawakian first and foremost, because we've never had a proper representation as East Malaysians in the past, because we've always been they're too far away. That's what they are. So the triple standard thing: Malay, Chinese, Indian, lain.
Yeah.
Like we're lions.
Yeah.
It's not a religious thing. It's a race thing. And then there was this one talk show that I became a guest on. I was with Mano Maniam, my cast member in Kopitiam. And it was an Astro Wani program, I think, years ago. And they asked us, like, what would happen if we changed the information card? Do you put, Malay, Chinese, Indian, or lion, or do you put Malaysian, non-Malaysian? Or if you're going to put Malay, Chinese, Indian, why don't you put, Iban, Bidayu, Kayan, Kenya, everything down there? Because you should. Because you could put Malay, Chinese, Indian. Hello, East Malaysia, Kadazan, Dosun, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You should put that out. Because you can't just say, this is Malaysia. Because it's a really bad representation of Malaysia. And that's what's happened in the past. It was just too hard, wasn't it? To have East Malaysia as part of Malaysia. Don't forget, Malaysia was named because, Sarawak and North Borneo and Singapore joined the Federated State of Malaya to become Malaysia in September 1963.
Yeah. So you did Iban language show on TVS not long ago, and it obviously did well. Tembawai Kanyuk, right? That was it. Like, what was your thought process? Like, obviously you don't speak Iban. I'm assuming that.
Very little.
Yeah, but what was your thought process to jumping on a Iban language project and like doing something like that?
First and foremost, it was a sitcom, situational comedy. There are very few of us that still do sitcoms in Malaysia. Very few of us also direct sitcoms. Now, what we understand about comedy and obviously sitcoms are, the language is secondary. The comedy is the primary objective of doing situational comedies, especially television. So when I was approached, this was 2020 or 2021, early 21, April, online, asked to do it, I jumped at the chance because it wasn't the language I was worried about, but it was how do I convert this into something that's going to be fun. I mean, there was a whole lot of other stuff that came along with it later, but generally, I found it a challenge because comedy transcends language. Ron Atkinson obviously proved that with Mr. Bean. So it's just a matter of how, throughout the pre-production process and the production process, I learned the nuances of the language. I may not necessarily understand everything, but in having conversations with the cast and how they operated and how they spoke and what kind of stuff that made it funny, because each language has its own,
nuances.
Yeah, and it's really important. That's what you got to understand, not the language itself, but and also with situation comedies, it's not just the words that make it funny, but also your actions, your physical comedy also comes back. Tambai Kanya had a lot of that. It was half and half. So, yeah, in some ways it was very difficult to do, almost impossible to do because, with what I was given. I mean, I mentioned this story before, but the wonderful thing was I was able to utilize all the experience I had doing comedy and sitcom to be able to translate that and help this particular show be able to I think better the word to be able to showcase it to Sarawakians, and especially the Iban and the Dayak communities. Of course, there's going to be people who hate it and people are going to love it, but generally it was very well received, and I wasn't surprised.
Well,
to be honest, I was only surprised the fact that it was taken this long for them to do it.
Was it hard to make the humor translate to like a different audience?
Any show, we've seen stuff where, again, go back to the Korean, where a lot of the stuff was translation is very important.
Yeah.
Subtitling, and if you get the subtitles wrong, you don't get the joke out. A lot of times when we see foreign language shows, there's a Japanese film called Welcome Back, Mr. McDonald. It's a farce, essentially. But the way they did stuff was so good because the translation, even though you're listening to the Japanese, acting, they were so good that the translation and the way they did it worked. You should watch it. It's a wonderful film. I enjoyed it. It's an old film, but I'm not old, but it's so funny. It is so funny. I mean, it's one of those comedies you like. You may not understand Japanese, but watching them and the way they work and the translation to it, it's amazing. And you could almost understand what they're saying.
Yeah, just to segue into a previous point, like why are there so few sitcom directors?
Because sitcom's really hard to do.
Really?
Yeah.
Even in Malaysia,
Yeah.
So it's a rare.
Not to sound big-headed or anything, but comedy is really hard to, especially sitcoms.
Yeah.
You've got to get the right writers as well, and we were very lucky to get really good writers, including our own creator Pin Ho, to have the ability to understand what society was all about in those days. Plus, you also had us as the actors who helped the process. Now, you either have to be all in or you're not in terms of these kind of projects. The reason why there are not that many sitcom writers, because now there are not many sitcoms because people are too scared to do it. It's a really challenging task to do comedy shows. Yes, we've got like, Super Spontan and all that, which is reality TV based. But sitcoms, because you've got to understand the beats, you've got to understand the timing, you've got to understand the jokes, how to deliver it, how to accept it. Everything goes into that. And there's a lot of training, a lot of rehearsals involved with it. But essentially, the script has to be good.
So I understand Tembuai Kanyut, right, was one of the high-rated shows on TVS. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, it's 2022, yes.
Yeah, so how do you see Iban language content going forward? Like whether in Malaysia, or do you feel it has like cross appeal to maybe like Kalimantan and like just the wider region?
Well, you're right in saying that. Yes, I think we should focus on Borneo first. What Korea did was they focused on Korea first. It's just that the stuff when it came out, it did well. We, as you know, there's a massive Iban community down south in Kalimantan because it's Borneo, and that's content that can be created specifically for Borneo. And believe you me, people will buy that type of content from abroad because they don't know it. They know next to nothing. Even West Malaysians know next to nothing about Sarawak or Sabah. You only see what from the tourism aspects. But I've had friends who've come over and have been blown away the fact that they've never been introduced to stuff that are happening and that are happening here, or our customs. They've never been showcased or even told about in Borneo.
So just to quickly walk through the process, like you've got a Iban language script, and then your job was to like translate it onto the screen.
Oh, okay. Let's not talk about the script because I told you like they didn't have a script in the beginning.
Yeah.
So once I went through the process and did it, so the great thing about the cast of Tembuai Kanyut was they had done stage prior to this. So they were not only good at stage work, they were also good at improv.
Yeah.
Not everyone would remember their lines and all that. If I was to tell you one day, I'll tell you what the process was like shooting Tembuai Kanyut in 8 days, when a normal 13-episode sitcom should take at least 3 weeks.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a world record. But what happens is when you're going through that kind of process with the actors, is that you must be able to translate your stuff onto the screen. Now, as stage people, they understand that visual cues and how you project your voice and how you deliver your lines. And we were lucky to have those kind of actors. But they only needed to, what we do with when we have stage actors, when they do television, is you need to just minimize it a bit more because you're working on a screen. You're not looking at audience as a whole, and audience from everywhere can see you. Your audience is limited in this box, the 16 by 9 box, or in those days 4 by 3. So everything that we do is limited to that. Now you add that to having multiple camera production. So you have different cameras will give you different angles of the face.
Yeah.
On stage, there's the audience. They are the ones who see, oh, I like this performance. My own eyes will go, I'm watching this perform, I'm watching this perform. How you see the audience is this. As the director of the TV, I will be the one who tell you what you need to see. That's the power. So if the performers are good, we will focus on that bit. So that's why TV is so different, because we are the storytellers. We are the ones who, and as an audience, like like I said, when you're watching me, you're only seeing this right now, right?
Yeah.
You're not seeing my whole body. That's what camera does. That's camera work. And we will tell the story. The language itself is because we are the ones who tell you what goes in, what goes out, what kind of facial features they will have, and the subtitle, everything there will tell you, translate it for you. We'll tell you whether it's funny, because I can do this shot, him laughing, but as a normal audience on stage, I only see him talking. I don't see him reacting. TV can help you do that.
So what is your advice for like Sarakians who want to like push out kind of their like indigenous, their native language like content that is, like maybe like even the obscure ones like Bekatan or stuff like that, to get it on TVS, because obviously we know like not everyone who's working at the station and stuff like that, would know how to even translate the language in the first place. So you obviously took a task where, obviously Iban is like a majority language here, but like, for content like that, which is not like in English or Chinese or BM, like, was it a like tough job to like just take a language like that, which is not normally shown on TV? Because I would love to see more Iban content on TV, obviously. But yeah, so I don't know, did the script come with translations, and
like I said,
what's the process?
The script, the script was a one-pager. I had to flesh it out.
So the process is like to teach like scripting and like how to.
I mean that's a whole different process when it comes to script writing. Script writing is we can do a whole episode on script writing.
Yeah.
You can do a workshop on script writing. I mean, I may not be the best, but when it comes to
so that's why it takes to get those kind of content out there.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about having stuff with TVS and stuff, but I feel that the platform is out there. You've got YouTube, which is what we're doing now. Social media has been a great factor in being able to get people to bring their content out.
Yeah.
And if you talk about, you don't have to wait. As long as you have a phone and a camera and a phone camera, the content can come out.
Oh.
You don't have to have quality content. As long as you understand how to bring that out first.
Yeah.
If you need help, of course, come and look for the expert. But take it out first. Put it out there. Then people will know that it exists. But if you don't put it out there, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what quality at first.
Yeah.
You need to bring it out, because if you don't wait until I got to do a right script and send it to TVS.
Yeah.
Put it out there first. Then people will understand and go, because somebody will go, this is good content. Let's collaborate. Let me help you. That's when the magic happens.
Yeah. So yeah, let's hope we see more authentic Sarakian content in the next few years.
I would love to see, and I will always be an advocator of is that a word? I would always advocate more Sarawak content, because we're just literally skimming the surface right now. I know we've been around, the industry's been around a long time, but right now we are literally, just about to break into something that's going to be really wonderful for Sarawak. I believe it.
Oh.
I always believe it, because I've seen it. I've seen that we can do a heck of a lot of content, not just for Sarawak, but for Borneo as well. And it's going to be really wonderful. And I'm going to stick my neck out and say, forget West Malaysia. We need to think about ourselves. And I'm not saying they're no good. We'll get the experts from there. But yeah, I think that East Malaysian content is there to be, and we should be doing it, because we know what it's all about. We just need the tools to be able to do it properly. That's all.
Yeah.
We should be the people who archive for these kind. We should be the people who, unless Sir David Attenborough or Sir Richard Attenborough comes along, Heck, I'll work with him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. On that note.
On that note, as usual, you've been watching us on the RSS, the Rashid Saleh Show. Thank you very much for watching us. If you do want to contact us, I'll put the email down there, or go to our social medias and contact us through there. But from myself, Rashid Saleh, and Jason Sim, aka the Kuchingite.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.